of the program's participants and do not necessarily reflect those of station staff, management, and advertisers.
All right, what's up, everybody? A very happy Thursday. Thanks for joining us, PTL Nation. Of course, we are all over the place. The website, pushingthelimits.live, the YouTube page, at PTL Radio Show. Of course, on the AM, FM dial, KSHP. And, of course, the Really American Network. We're very happy to be a part of their network of 600,000 YouTube subscribers and over 1 million on Facebook, by the way. So we appreciate being on their platform as well. And boy, a lot has transpired over the last 24 hours. Donald Trump getting embarrassed, the UN. More fallout from the FCC commissioner, who's just completely embarrassed himself over the course of the last few weeks. It really is something special. I'll say that. And my friend, Adam Mockler, who's going to be joining us on the show next week. Adam just absolutely wrecked Ben Ferguson yesterday and the MAGA panel on CNN. Absolutely wrecked them. So we're going to have Adam Mockler join us on the program next week. So as I mentioned, there's a lot to get to. There is a lot to go over. And coming up here in just a few moments, we are going to have Dan. He's the former deputy White House cabinet secretary. In fact, he's joining us right now, so it's always a pleasure having him on. Of course, I'm talking about Dan Coe, who's joining us right now on the program. Dan, thank you so much for being here, my friend. How are you?
Good to see you, my brother. How's everything?
I'm doing okay, Dan. Certainly a lot to catch up and talk about with you. I thought you did a really good job on Piers Morgan, by the way, this week, under some difficult circumstances. Let me start by asking you this before we get into the Jimmy Kimmel stuff and cancel culture. I hear so many people on the right saying the left wanted Charlie Kirk dead. They're celebrating his death. Even people saying that Democrat politicians. And I'm saying to myself, name me one Democrat politician that has done that. Can you name me one? Where are they getting this from?
Absolutely not. Look, I think it is fair to say that on the left and the right, when there's political violence, there are people who say inappropriate things, and that we should condemn no matter whether it is on the left or on the right, that kind of speech. Absolutely. It is not helpful when people try to make these hyperbolic statements. The thing that also really bothered me, to be honest, Brian, is like I saw some people saying now political violence is only committed by the left, right? That is just absurd and not true and just utter gaslighting, right? It is beyond comprehension to even a logical person listening to that only one political ideology has created political violence. It's just not true. And so I just think that sows division. I think there's a lot of us who are in the camp that I think you and I are, which was what happened to Charlie Kirk was absolutely deplorable, incredibly scary, and that people should be able to speak their mind without fear of political violence. And
right.
when you try to create a false division, it just creates more anger for all that goes all around. It's just not helpful for anyone.
Yeah, and Dan, obviously you worked under Joe Biden, and the one thing I always complimented Joe Biden on, and I always will, is his compassion for other people. And I can never imagine Joe Biden at a funeral attacking the right and doing anything close to what Donald Trump did at that funeral, which I thought was reprehensible, saying he hated his enemies. You know what Stephen Miller said. I mean, is this where we're at in this country now? Have you ever seen leaders in any political party talk like that at a funeral?
No, and obviously President Biden wouldn't do it. As a matter of fact, if President Biden would to say anything outside of what is kind of like the presidential thing to say at events like that, people would have questioned his mental acuity, and it would have been all kinds of things. So for some reason, Donald Trump gets a free pass on that. I am hoping, and I am an optimist by nature, despite everything going on. I am hoping that this is a unique time in our history with a unique president who has somehow psychologically conditioned the media and others to find this acceptable. This is just the gravity in which the words of the president influence a country cannot be overstated. people gave President Biden a lot of crap for memos that came out that showed that exactly where he were to walk, exactly what he should say. The reality is, like, when we were so careful about that because we knew that if we said the wrong thing, or if the president said the wrong thing, it would be scrutinized all day long. This is a president who got up during the whole Tylenol craziness in the Roosevelt Room and said, I heard a rumor that in this country they don't have as much Tylenol and there's less autism, right? This is a president who's literally spreading unsubstantiated rumors by his own admission. That is just so incredibly dangerous. I don't have to point even that far back. I can point to when he talked about injecting bleach, and then all of a sudden poison control across the country had calls from people who were drinking bleach, right? People follow leadership. They trust leadership, and this is just not a president who can be trusted.
You're right. And then it was Donald Trump the next day who said, oh, well, he was just joking. Just like when he said the war would end in 24 hours. And we know where the war's at right now in Ukraine. And he said, oh, I was just being sarcastic. If you're just joining us, he is Dan Coe, the former deputy White House cabinet secretary under Joe Biden. Let's talk a little bit, if we can, about Jimmy Kimmel, because, I wanted to get your thoughts on this. Jimmy Kimmel made a joke about Donald Trump. The reason why is because Donald Trump, as you know, was asked about his friend, how are you holding up? And then he starts talking about this stupid ballroom. I guess Jimmy Kimmel alluded to the fact that he thought it was a MAGA person that shot Charlie Kirk, but the right is like up in arms over this. I mean, you look at all the incendiary things that the right says almost about everything, whether it be Pizzagate or the terrorist attack in New Orleans wasn't illegal. I mean, aren't they the wrong people to be talking about this sort of thing?
I mean, look, it is beyond comprehension in many ways. Could Jimmy Kimmel have used the line that he said maybe a little bit more artfully? Sure. But to say that he was being insidious and declaring that the shooter was MAGA is just, again, just strains credulity. Look, I think we have to be intellectually honest about this, though. And I said this on Piers Morgan yesterday. There was a report that came out that according to some congressional members, that the Biden administration was pressuring YouTube to take down accounts. We don't know the details of that. I want to be very clear that people are trying to equate both, and we don't know exactly what that means. But if Biden administration officials were threatening YouTube with the same kind of threats that Brendan Carr is threatening these news networks in fear of retribution, then that shouldn't have happened, and that's completely deplorable.
Agree. Let's talk. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, but the notion that, like, you literally have, like a mobster, like Tony Soprano, you have a FCC chair say we're going to do this the easy way or the hard way, just shows you this. It's like legit thuggery, and is not the place of government. This is a controlling government that wants to control everything, not what the public trust should have in these kind of people and institutions.
I wanted to ask you too about James Comey, because a lot of people on the right are saying, James Comey was anti-Donald Trump and he did everything to get to Donald Trump and get him out of office. Yet, correct me if I'm wrong, it was also James Comey who opened up the investigation into Hillary Clinton less than 2 weeks before the elections. And there's a lot of people that think that might have cost her the election. What do you make of Donald Trump now trying to go, his DOJ at least, trying to go after James Comey? And then what do you make about the argument from the right that, Comey was so anti-Donald Trump? Because it doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, I think about it in the way like you think about a frog in a boiling pot of water. Now, this has been debunked, but the analogy is that if you put a frog in hot water and then turn up the temperature, the frog doesn't jump out. He is continuously going after his political enemies, starting with ones that he believes aren't going to make as much news, turning it up to Comey, and then he's going to keep going, right? And that's the problem, is that as he ratchets this up, it doesn't feel as bad because he continues to go after different people and ratchet it up. To your point, he went after Hillary Clinton, and I wouldn't say go after in a way that is not by the book, right? Like you could argue about whether he should have done it at the timing that he did, but there was nothing about what he did that was illegal or anything like that. But I think it is a good example of Donald Trump's brain, that he later reflected to friends that he was surprised that Democrats were mad when he fired Comey, because he figured they would all hate Comey because of what he did to Hillary Clinton. I think there are a lot of people who are frustrated about what James Comey did at the timing that he did, but no one ever questioned the institution of the FBI or any of that in that process, which is why people saw what Donald Trump did to be so objectionable, despite the fact I think a lot of Democrats were very upset with James Comey. So, Donald Trump just sees retribution as the end all be all for him. It doesn't matter, it doesn't matter if people are right. And that's another thing too. It's one thing to censor somebody or to penalize somebody for saying inflammatory language or saying racial slurs on TV. It's another thing if you're just silencing truth you don't like. And that's what Donald Trump is doing by suing 60 Minutes, by suing Wall Street Journal for something that turned out to be utterly true. It's about control, and it's about what kind of content he finds acceptable, not truthful or untruthful content, and certainly not inappropriate versus appropriate content.
So, Dan, I think we all know why Donald Trump doesn't want to release the Epstein files, and I think we all know why he doesn't want anybody talking about it. The argument I get from some people on the right is, well, why didn't Joe Biden release the Epstein files? Now, my understanding is that the Maxwell case was going on and it was sealed. Can you shed some light into that when you hear the argument from the right that says, well, why didn't Joe Biden and his administration release the Epstein files? What do you say to that? You were in his administration.
I think there are two aspects to this. One, I think it's very clear, is clearly documented on January 3rd of 2024. The Southern District of New York released more than 900 pages of Epstein files. As a matter of fact, many of them were in the binders that were in that famous scene now, infamous scene of all these influencers holding them up. So to say that the President Biden administration did not oversee any release of the files just is objectively not true. But on top of that, you have a president who campaigned on saying there was so much more here. We're going to get to the bottom of it. Candidly, it is bonkers to think, given how much footage there is of Donald Trump with Jeffrey Epstein, that he was ever going to be the pioneer on this, that people would ever take him seriously, that he was going to bring justice to the victims. And so this is all a smokescreen to try to deflect blame. But if you're going to go out with one of your chief campaign promises is you're going to release everything, then you should follow up on that at the very least. And at the and on top of all of that, you have all of these victims who are demanding more transparency. And he's obviously, let me put it this way. This is not the behavior of somebody who is innocent, right? This is not a behavior of somebody who is not concerned with what's in the files, or else you would have already released him. And that's pretty much all you need to know.
What did you make of the moment when Eric Swalwell asks, who's done this show before, asks Kash Patel over 7 or 8 times, did you tell Pam Bondi that Donald Trump is in the Epstein files? And he doesn't answer the question. I mean, what did you make of that moment? Obviously, we know what the answer is, but what did you make of that?
It's a very interesting microcosm of the biggest difference between the first term and the second term of Donald Trump. In the first term, Donald Trump, I'm not sure he thought he was going to win, candidly. And I know for a fact that he hadn't set up a transition team in the typical way. And so he ended up putting in a bunch of experienced Republicans in his administration who weren't necessarily on his campaign and weren't necessarily loyal, candidly, to Donald Trump. And so you saw for the first 3 or 4 months, the chaos, people quitting, cabinet members quitting left and right, et cetera, because they could not exist in a structure that was so unethical and sporadic like Donald Trump.
Right.
The reason why I go through this is because this time he didn't make that mistake. He prioritized loyalty over everything else, including competence, right? And so he puts Kash Patel in there because he knows there could be incriminating things that come out of the FBI, and he wants a loyalist there who will cover for him, which is exactly what Kash Patel is doing. It's the same reason why he's doing it with Pam Bondi. And, by standing by her when Laura Loomer and others are going after her, it's not because he's a good guy. It's because he wants her to continue to cover up for him, to go after his political enemies. And this is all part of Donald Trump's loyalty pledge that he wants from not just his administration, but the entire country, right? He's just trying to silence as much opposition as possible. And that was just a microcosm example of that, because Kash Patel is loyal to Donald Trump to the point in which he will lie for him.
Absolutely. And I think that's the case with many people in Donald Trump's administration. Last question. And I don't really like asking questions about the past. I like asking about the future. But since you worked under Joe Biden, I do want to ask you this. I've praised Joe Biden for a lot. I was a supporter of his. Obviously, I voted for him. With that being said, one of my biggest criticisms of him was that he didn't step down sooner and at least give somebody like Kamala Harris more time to campaign. Now, as you know, Kamala Harris is on this book tour. And she was asked about that on The View. And she said, yeah, it would have been better if, he had stepped down. I'm paraphrasing here, sooner. What do you make of that? Do you agree with that? And do you believe that ultimately Joe Biden did make the mistake and he probably should have made that announcement earlier? What are your thoughts on that now looking back?
Look, I think it is fair and it is honest that we should look at what we did in 2024 and what we shouldn't do again. The vice president's getting a lot of heat for being honest. I don't really think that is fair. She's a private citizen now. She's not in the White House anymore. She had 107 days to pull off a presidential campaign. It is asinine that people are still saying, oh, well, she that was enough. And if she had more time, it would have been worse for her. Like Donald Trump had been campaigning for president for 10 years. She had 107 days. So give me a break on that stuff. Look, I think we need to separate two things. One is how we move forward as a party in terms of how we nominate people, how we think through the process. And then what Kamala Harris was referring to with regard to reckless was having a larger conversation about whether reelection and the conversation should be a broader one, right? That's what she was saying. People perceived it to be that she was just calling Joe Biden reckless in a vacuum. She wasn't doing that. But I think as we move forward, we just need to think through, like, we have an amazing base of Democrats. I also think that potentially the 2028 candidate field, there are going to be names in there that you and I don't even know really right now, right? If you think about Barack Obama, he came pretty much out of nowhere over the course of, five years or so to become president. And so I think we need to continue to grow our bench. We need to continue to find ways to showcase Democrats. I think, Ken Martin's thinking about doing a midterm convention. I think that's a great idea because there's so many good ideas out there. And I think DC loves to kind of just like attach to a few people and just talk about them every time there's something happening. And if you look at like I worked with mayors and governors in the White House, right? There are so many friggin' talented mayors. You think of like Justin Bibb in Cleveland, where the homicide rate is and the crime rates are at like, decades lows. You think about some of the people like the mayor of Birmingham, Alabama. These are people who are doing amazing work. We got to find ways to showcase them and candidly give them the opportunity if they want to run for higher office, that they're not just like having to spend 2 years introducing themselves, but they're already known on the national stage.
Yeah, that's really a good point. And I think that's what these Democrats need to do more of, put these people on a bigger platform and get their name out there. I could not agree with you more. Dan, we got to get on the same panel on Piers Morgan one of these days, man. They don't always put me with some of the best people. I'm saying, and if I had you by my side, I think
having the dream team, man. It'd be like Bird and Michael Jordan, man.
We would. We got to do that one of these days. Dan, I appreciate you, man. Keep up the great work and speaking truth to power. And we'll talk to you soon, my friend. Okay. Thank you so much for the time, as always.
Thank you. Take care.
Thank you very much. Dan Coe, everybody, the former deputy White House cabinet secretary, as we wrote on the bottom there. Sorry, we got the spelling wrong. He's not the secretary. He's the secretary. I want to make that clear, but that's okay. Dan's a great guy. And I'm really appreciative that I'm able to work with him and I'm able to, just be able to have private conversations with him and honest conversations with him. And I'm really glad that Piers Morgan and other national entities. I mean, Dan does the CNN all the time. He does MSNBC. Boy, I wish they would get him on Fox News because I think he's a very bright young man who I believe could be running for office at the highest level one day. I really do. So we really do appreciate Dan. So here's what I want to do. I want to quickly go to break. And then when we come back, I will introduce my new co-host. You know him already, Leonard Cardinale. And then, of course, we're going to play some audio of J.D. Vance embarrassing himself yesterday. And again, Bessent on Argentina. Some of the statements that he made were just so asinine. And Adam Mockler just destroying Ben Ferguson on CNN was very enjoyable for me to watch. We'll discuss all that with Leonard coming up next. We'll take a quick break. We'll also take phone calls, of course. You're listening to Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
Hey, everybody. Are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premium Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip.
All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a Thursday. By the way, busy show tomorrow. Really excited to have Pete Dominick on the show. He's a CNN contributor, a former MSNBC contributor, and a very funny comedian. He's going to be joining us to start the show. You know, I haven't had Joanna Carducci on the show in a while. She's known as JoJo from Jers. She's going to be joining us on the show tomorrow. And, of course, the beautiful and talented Nicole Mitchell. So nothing personal, but I do enjoy looking at Nicole a little bit more than Leonard. But, you know, to each their own. But Leonard is still a very distinguished, good-looking guy. And the announcement that I made yesterday that Leonard will be co-hosting with me Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday every week. Is that right, Mr. Leonard?
Yes, I am ready to go, and we have some special stuff lined up for next week.
Yeah, we're going to have some fun, and I'm glad you're here. And
I'm glad to be here.
Keeping me
Thank you.
calm, and I like your Vegas Golden Knights shirt that you're wearing.
Let's
today,
go,
too, by the way.
Knights.
Yes, that's right. I'm going to the game
Third
tonight.
preseason game.
Yeah, it is. Third preseason game today. So listen, we all know that J.D. Vance says a lot of stupid things, and he lies. He started the whole, dog eating the dogs and the cats nonsense. We also know that this is the interesting part of this clip that I'm going to play for you, Leonard, because if you remember, J.D. Vance was the guy who called Donald Trump possibly America's next Adolf Hitler.
He did.
Listen to what J.D. Vance had to say yesterday, this couch imbecile. Listen to what he said yesterday about rhetoric and using the word Nazi. Listen to this.
We got to stop it. We got to condemn it. And that starts, unfortunately, at the very top of the Democratic Party. If you want to stop political violence, stop attacking our law enforcement as the Gestapo. If you want to stop political violence, stop telling your supporters that everybody who disagrees with you is a Nazi. If you want to stop political violence, look in the mirror. That's the way that we stop political violence in this country, and we've got to do it.
Interesting. He doesn't want people to use the word Nazi. But again, I go back to this fun fact dating back to 2016 with J.D. Vance. Maybe all these Republicans have Alzheimer's. I don't know. Maybe they're in the bunker. But yes, J.D. Vance did call Donald Trump possibly the next America's Hitler. But now he doesn't want this political rhetoric.
Complete sellout.
Yeah. Can you? I mean,
The word sellout just comes right to my mind whenever you talk about him. And is it okay for people with Nazi T-shirts and flags to march down the street in major cities and say things like Jews won't replace us, and that's not inciting some kind of political violence?
Leonard,
are you kidding me right
Leonard,
now?
there's good people on both sides. You know that.
Yeah. That Trump says that when it's necessary, and now they're walking back his comments about hating his opponents. Did you see that?
I saw that.
They're
too.
trying to make light of it, and like it was a joke. That
Oh,
was
it's just
no
a joke.
joke.
No, of
that
course
was no
not.
joke.
Of course, it wasn't a joke. And listen, nobody talks like that at a funeral except Donald Trump. And then J.D. Vance starts making excuses for this imbecile FCC commissioner. Listen to J.D. Vance's excuse to saying that the FCC commissioner was just making a joke. Really, that's what he's saying. Have a listen to this.
We'll go ahead and do the second question.
Yeah, second question. Last year, when I was covering you on the campaign trail, you told Joe Rogan that the difference between Harris and Trump is that Trump is not trying to censor his fellow Americans. I'm wondering if you can square your fervent belief in free speech with what's going on now with Jimmy Kimmel and the FCC pressure. I'd love to hear your thoughts on both of those.
Well, look, on the free speech conversation, I'm pretty sure that Jimmy Kimmel was back on the air last night, and to the extent that he's not back on the air, it's because he's not funny and has terrible ratings. This is not a federal government problem. This is... And kid, I want to answer your question in good faith. What people will say is, well, didn't the FCC commissioner put a tweet out that said something bad? Well, kid, compare that, the FCC commissioner making a joke on social media. What is the government action that the Trump administration has engaged in to kick Jimmy Kimmel or anybody else off the air? Zero. What government pressure have we brought to bear to tell people that they're not allowed to speak their mind? Zero. We believe in free speech in the Trump administration. We are fighting every single day to protect it. Now compare that to the Biden administration, where we found out just yesterday that conservatives on YouTube and on a number of social media platforms were being censored. Why? Because the Biden administration picked up the phone and said, we want you to censor our political opponents. That is real government censorship, and it left the White House when Joe Biden left the White House. Now to Ukraine.
Yeah, well, first of all, that is an absolute lie. So, J.D., let's just backtrack for a moment. J.D. Vance is claiming that Brendan Carr's repeated threats on social media and interviews and were also, by the way, put in writing at Project 2025, for those of you that are unaware. It was just a joke. And it had nothing to do with Jimmy Kimmel being taken off the air. Is there anybody on the planet with an IQ over 20 that believes J.D. Vance?
J.D. Vance is living in an alternate universe because everything he said is inaccurate. And let me just say about the social media posts. So what happened during COVID was there was a lot of inaccurate information. And so the government was not trying to regulate speech. What they were doing was trying to keep the people of America from panicking, from getting the wrong information and taking things like chlorine or sunlight and you'll be okay, you'll live. So they had a responsibility, in my opinion, to make sure that the news was as accurate as it could be when it comes to people's safety. That's what it was about. It had nothing to do with censoring speech.
Yeah, and J.D. Vance is just full of crap, as he always is. He's a despicable human being. I hope he enjoys his couch tonight.
He's in another planet.
Oh, he is just an absolute imbecile. I could make a joke and say, how many stains do you think are on his couch? But no, I would never make a joke like that. That would be a joke, by the way. That's what a joke is. You don't make jokes about hating people at funerals.
No,
you
it
dumb
was a direct
idiot.
threat by Brendan Carr. It was a direct threat. And it wasn't. He said, we could do this the easy way or the hard way. And if the Jimmy Kimmel situation doesn't get better, well, then we may have to take this. FCC may have to go a bit further. That's really not open for. That's objectively accurate to say that was a threat.
And if there's any rhetoric out there that can harm people or can cause violence, when J.D. Vance lied and said they're eating the cats, they're eating the dogs, and then Donald Trump reemphasized that lie. So if anybody is spreading the misinformation and hateful rhetoric, it certainly is J.D. Vance, and he's the last person who should be talking about that. Now, as you know, Leonard, there are a lot of farmers out there that are facing some very difficult times. And the reason why they are facing difficult times, you don't have to be a brain surgeon to figure this one out, it's because of Donald Trump's trade war. I want you to listen to what Brooke Rollins had to say about these farmers that are facing difficult times. But it's interesting because she doesn't seem to blame Donald Trump. Have a listen to this.
That alongside, of course, the president's effort to realign America around American products and making all of these new deals, we are at a point where we're looking at the harvest, where we're looking at our soybean, corn, wheat, sorghum, cotton farmers who are facing very, very difficult times. We are currently in conversations here at the White House, across the government, on a farmer aid package. In our current programming right now, we've got about $13 billion moving out under ECAP, which is our old farmer payment system based on losses from last year and the year before. So this would be in addition to that, in partnership with our colleagues on the Hill. We should have an announcement very soon, perhaps in the next couple of weeks.
One last
What a frickin' idiot, and what a word salad. By the way,
that was a word salad sandwich.
That salad will cost you more money now, too, by the way. So let me just give you the basics here in layman's terms for my very special MAGA friends that are listening out there. Back in 2017, Trump's insane tariffs hurt farmers. The taxpayers bailed out those farmers in 2025. Then Donald Trump's even more insane tariffs hurt farmers. And what are taxpayers doing now? Bailing out the farmers. Why? Because of Donald Trump's trade war. Don't listen to the word salad from Brooke Rollins or any of these other Donald Trump morons in the administration. The reason why, and by the way, some of these farmers, I would imagine a good portion of them voted for Donald Trump. I guess you reap what you sow.
A lot of them are admitting they did.
Yeah. So you know what? That's your fault for doing that, and you put this country in this position because you voted for this adjudicated rapist idiot. Okay? But for Brooke Rollins to come up with this word salad and to not blame Donald Trump because of this trade war, which is indirectly the reasoning behind these farmers facing these difficult times.
Well, he's taking the money from the tariffs that hurt the farmers, and he's saying, oh, we have a bit of a surplus, let's give them the money back. The whole plan was ill-conceived, and it just hurt the economy.
Yeah. And I'm wondering, by the way, how the American taxpayers feel about paying for the reelection of this Argentinian clown, okay? And Donald Trump ran on a lot of things that were lies, but he always talks about America first. I want you to listen to what Vance had to say about Argentina on Fox News earlier today. Have a listen to this.
I want to get your take on Argentina because, Mr. Secretary, Argentina's peso sliding, politics and capital outflows rattling investors there. Javier Milei, I guess, has lost the confidence of investors. They're pulling their money out of Argentina. They're fearful that he will scrap his defense of the peso. You say all options are on the table, from swap lines to direct currency support. What's the plan in terms of supporting Argentina? Is there one?
The plan is, as long as President Milei continues with his strong economic policies to help him, to bridge him to the election, I call this the screens moving to the streets. We are not going to let a disequilibrium in the market be a cause his a backup in his substantial economic reforms. I don't think the market has lost confidence in him. I think the market is looking in the rearview mirror and is looking at decades, if not a century, of terrible Argentinian mismanagement. And people are concerned. People are skittish. It's very hard to believe that it is different this time. But I believe with President Milei, it is. It is.
The president...
Let me be very clear on this. President Milei crashed out his own economy.
That's right.
His policies have destroyed many lives. So now the American people should be bailing him out, while the Trump administration, as you know, because I talk about this every single day, has cut millions of Americans from health care and SNAP. This is his own fault, and now Americans are suffering for it, and we're going to bail them out? It's the most disgusting thing I've ever heard in my life, and I've heard a lot of disgusting things from dissent. How do American taxpayers feel about paying for the reelection of this clown? This is not America first. This is America last.
Most of the Americans, I'm sure, don't even know that Trump is trying to support Milei, who's more of a autocrat. He's more of a dictator type, and he believes in austerity. When you talk about the economy, austerity means you just cut the money off to the public employees, the bottom line. You close businesses, you sell equipment. And what happened was he tried to cut so much money that now the peso has no strength in Argentina. But what's really going on is that they're just giving him money to get reelected. And like you said, Brian, what happened to America first? Why is he giving? Was it 20 million or 20 billion? I can't remember.
It's a lot. It's a lot of money.
I can't remember. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think it's more than 20 million. And the fact of the matter is that those who claim that Donald Trump was an America first president, he's a Donald Trump first president, and he'll help everybody else if it helps him financially or if people coddle to him. Now, on a lighter note, friend of the show, I've known Adam Mockler for years now. He's a very, very intelligent,
smart kid,
young man who's a part of Midas Touch, and I started interviewing Adam Mockler way before Midas Touch got him. And I knew this young man was going to be very successful, and boy, is he ever. He did a great job again on the Abby Phillips show last night. Now, he was debating one of the MAGA clowns that was on the panel. There were two of them. One of them's Ben Ferguson, who is just an absolute right-wing imbecile. I mean, I can't believe I'm even going to say this, but I think he's even worse than Scott Jennings.
Wow.
And
Scott Jennings is pretty bad.
Scott Jennings is pretty bad. I think Ben Ferguson is actually worse. Now, I don't know if you guys got a chance to see my friend on CNN last night. He's going to join us on the show next week to talk a little bit about this. But so Adam Mockler's trying to make the case that, because, Ferguson's saying that, listen, the Trump administration, they're going to investigate anybody if they do any wrongdoing. And they were talking a little bit about how Hunter Biden was investigated under Biden's DOJ. And Adam Mockler asked Ben Ferguson a very fair question, which I think any reasonable person that's not biased would be able to answer. Have a listen to this.
What a question.
100%. So this is not a surprise that we're like sitting here.
Hunter Biden was being investigated during Biden's term. Do you think Don Jr. would ever be investigated by Pam Bondi?
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not.
Wait, hold on. If he did a crime, I think, yeah.
No, he would not.
By the way,
Donald Trump Jr.
The Biden crime family.
You know that's not true.
Donald Trump Jr.
Wait, let's be clear.
Yes.
Let's be clear about Hunter Biden and what Hunter Biden did. If Don
that
Jr.
wasn't the
was
question.
sitting on the board of Burisma right now and was taking massive amounts of money, I have no doubt. Again, I actually think that
Hold on one second. It's just too many people talking at one time. Make your comments so that we can actually hear it.
Yeah, if you had Don Jr. painting paintings and selling them for six figures, which, by the way, nobody else right now. I absolutely believe there would be an investigation because, honestly, I don't think my side is okay to do things like that.
Tom Homan was found taking $50,000 bribes. Where's the investigation? Will you call for an investigation on Tom Homan?
So now he's just immediately convicted by you.
That's a little different. No, I'm saying
thank you. I think we're being intellectually honest on that. That is the biggest BS line of the night.
But I don't think there's any.
So let me just be very clear here. Ben Ferguson is an imbecile. Adam Mockler puts him in a corner and asks a very fair question, and the easy answer would be no. If Don Jr. did anything wrong or committed any crimes, there's no chance that Donald Trump's DOJ and Pam Bondi would go after Don Jr. Now, obviously, unless you're a disingenuous prick and a liar like Ben Ferguson, you will answer that question honestly. And why did Adam Mockler ask that question? Because again, Ferguson was talking about Hunter Biden and the paintings and all this other stuff. Meanwhile, Donald Trump is in this crypto scandal, his family making billions of dollars. You cannot make this stuff up. It's absolutely ridiculous.
And he also asked him about if he's going to investigate who took the $50,000?
Tom Homan?
Yeah, Tom Homan.
Yeah.
And he asked him that straight out, and all he did was try to push back and say, you know, I couldn't even tell what they were saying because Abby Phillip always loses control of the people she's interviewing. But I say, you know, let release the Tom Homan files. That's what I say.
Well, again, there is a video out there of Tom Homan accepting a $50,000 bribe. The reason why they were investigating him to begin with is because they had evidence that he was accepting bribes and he was breaking the law. Tom Homan goes on national television and says, I didn't break any laws. Well, yeah, because the DOJ, they didn't press charges against you. And the reason why they didn't do that, I think, might have a little bit to do with Donald Trump. But that's why. So if you claim you did nothing wrong and you didn't break the law, release the tape. And then Adam Mockler makes such a wonderful point because, again, the Ben Ferguson idiots on the right are blaming the left for what happened to Charlie Kirk. But when in reality, it's not transgenders that are killing all these innocent people. It's not immigrants, legal or not, that are mass shooters in this country. The majority of them are young, white males. And I thought Adam Mockler yesterday did such a good job in making that point. Have a listen to this.
Condemn him.
You know, every time one of these tragic shootings happens, everybody's at each other's throats about which side did it, but we're missing a broader pattern in America. This was another young white dude who's in his 20s. We have seen this pattern accelerating over the past decade. The same day Charlie Kirk was shot, the same exact time, there was a neo-Nazi who shot up a school in Colorado. We can look at the acceleration of the radicalization of young men through a few frameworks. There's the COVID pandemic, which had people isolated, had a bubble around themselves, and a lot of young men failed to pull that bubble down and got sucked down these algorithms. I've seen it happen to my close friends. They get sucked down these algorithms. We have foreign actors trying to sow chaos in America, sow division. How much does Putin salivate when he sees us at each other's throats? Then we have domestic actors, people like Elon Musk, riling it up. So all of these factors, wait, hold up, Ben. All of these factors come together to create this pattern that we see of young men in my age range committing these shootings. And if you want to sit here and go back and forth, tit for tat, I can say Dylan Roof, Robert Bowers, John Earnest, none of these were black people, none of these were trans people, none of these were even Democrats. These were neo-Nazis who had things carved into their guns. You can sit here and muddy the waters, but you are just lying.
I just don't want innocent people to die. Sue me for that.
Then maybe tell Trump to tone down his rhetoric.
If you think this is exactly, you literally just went into an entire argument. So Abby, let me go back to the
Can I make something that might be a little bit more controversial than that?
Hold on a second.
Sure, go ahead.
This is the part that should not be this hard.
He says he hates his enemies.
Hold on, Adam.
Who says he hates his enemies?
That is true. He did say he hates his enemies. Again, I repeat one more time. Some of the largest mass casualty events from gun violence have happened from white men. In most cases, not all. They're young white men, as young as 18, into their 20s, and then we had a man that was much older than that, a white man, who killed over 61 people in Las Vegas. These are not, the majority of these people are not transgenders, a fraction of these shootings. And listen, one mass shooting is one too many. One innocent person dying is one too many. The reason why I'm bringing this up, and the reason why Adam Mockler brought that up on CNN last night, is because MAGA Republicans are not only saying it's the left, and it's all the left's rhetoric, and the left is responsible for this, but I could name you a plethora of mass shootings that have happened from young white men that are Donald Trump supporters. Now, I don't know exactly the political affiliation of what this 22-year-old nutcase was or is that took the life of Charlie Kirk. But what we do know is that he came from a very conservative family that loved their guns. I don't know how he got radicalized. I would imagine it probably was online. We don't have the details of if and when he was radicalized and why. But what we do know is that it wasn't a transgender, it wasn't a minority, it wasn't an undocumented
and it
immigrant.
didn't have to be radicalized, Brian. Why did he have to be radicalized? He was a person who was out of his mind, who had enough, who snapped, who looked at Charlie Kirk in a way that he thought he needed. He had homicide on his mind, and he even admitted that he knew Charlie Kirk was coming into the area. Now, I said weeks ago, sometimes that's just enough for someone, knowing that someone important, someone that has a lot of attention, is coming into your area, and here's your opportunity. Okay, so he was demented. He was out of his mind. Why does it have to be he was radicalized online? I just don't see the connection.
Completely agree. And then just to make things a little bit better here for a moment, as far as joking, in a joking fashion, I will say that Adam Mockler put a good exclamation point on what Trump has done with these portraits. And Adam Mockler made a very funny statement that I think is kind of being hashtagged on social media, what the next Democrat candidate should do with these Donald Trump portraits. I find it to be actually very funny, and I agree with it. Have a listen to this.
Today. He had a 4-hour work day.
Let me just tell you,
his own team said it.
I will only vote for the Democratic candidate in 2028 that removes Trump's presidential portraits and replaces them with photos of him and Epstein. So many photos of him and Epstein. More photos than me and my own grandparents, I feel like. It's just
I'm still looking forward to the auto pin responding to the outrage over the auto pin. I'm excited about it. I think everyone has
to listen to Kimmel and just take the joke.
I agree. Take the joke. So, again, and Adam Mockler does this every single time. He just destroys this MAGA panel. And he did it again last night, and I commend him for it. And Adam Mockler is going to join us on the show next week. Let me be very clear on this. Ben Ferguson is a right-wing MAGA buffoon. Ben Ferguson is a liar. Ben Ferguson shouldn't be on these panels because he's a complete and utter imbecile. As we go to the, I want to go to the YouTube super chat real quickly, if I may. Lori, thank you very much for your contribution. Lori says, hi guys, farmers know that the bailout that they get is the same as helping low-income families with school meals for their children. Sad. Lori, I completely agree with you on that one, 150%.
Good point.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can I say something on that? Because it looks like selective subsidies. So yes, we're going to subsidize the farmers because they tend to vote for Trump. But what about the bill they have in front of the Senate right now to pay the bills for America? But within that bill, you know what they're doing? They're cutting Affordable Care Act. They're cutting out the subsidies for Obamacare, and it's for mostly middle-income families. So on one side, they don't want to give subsidies, right, to people who really need it, to middle-class families. They want to give it to the farmers because it's a political move, in my opinion.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you on that. So obviously there's a lot that we're going to be getting to today and to be discussing. For those of you that are going to be calling in, these are the topics that we're discussing today. First of all, J.D. Vance's statements about political violence and disagreeing with using the word Nazi when he was the actual person who called Donald Trump America's next Adolf Hitler. And again, J.D. Vance making excuses for the FCC commissioner. So that's certainly one topic that we are talking about today. And members of the Trump administration making excuses for why these farmers are having it so rough right now. We know exactly why. It's because of Donald Trump's trade war and these tariffs. You're absolutely correct. And then bailing out Argentina. I thought this was America first. Why are we throwing all this money to Argentina to help their economy when the president is an incompetent fool who crashed his own economy? Why are we doing that while we take Medicaid and food stamps away from millions of Americans? Can somebody please explain to me that? And, of course, we just played some clips from my friend Adam Mockler, who I thought did a great job. All right, 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Again, 702-221-7283. Let's go to Phil. Phil, you're first up on PTL. What's going on?
Hello, Brian. Thanks for taking my call.
Sure.
Hey, I know I'm not talking about I caught the latter part of your discussion. You wanted to address a certain subject?
Well, there's a number of things that we have discussed today on the show. Absolutely, a lot of different things. As I mentioned, still the Jimmy Kimmel stuff, J.D. Vance's statements yesterday. The word Nazi when he called Donald Trump possibly America's next Adolf Hitler.
The ICE shooter.
Yeah, certainly the ICE shooting that took place, and why we should have to bail out Argentina. So those are some of the things we're talking about.
Okay, if you don't mind, I'd like to digress. What did you think of the UN address by Trump?
Don't get me started.
I was totally embarrassed as an American.
Well, yeah, I
totally embarrassed.
Yeah, I played some of those clips yesterday on the show. We talked about that yesterday, and every single time Donald Trump doesn't have a teleprompter and he's speaking in front of anyone, he embarrasses America and he embarrasses himself. The excuse that they are making is that the teleprompter wasn't working, and now there's a whole investigation into why the escalator wasn't working.
He told his friends, told countries that love us that their countries are going to hell.
It was one of his own cameramen that tripped the escalator.
Right, he got caught at the top of the escalator.
Correct.
Right.
So yeah.
So now there's this thing where they think it was a plot.
Yeah, he started an FBI investigation. He wants to know
why
there was an issue with the teleprompter and why there was an issue with the audio and the escalator. And so then Stephen Colbert last night said that they need to hire an escalator investigator.
Yeah, I think it's the deep state. Maybe we'll get Alex Jones back on the show, and maybe he can tell us. Thank you for the call, sir. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's go to Ken. Ken is next up on PTL. Hey, Ken, what's going on?
Gentlemen, not to sound too much like a conspiracy theorist, but you know how Trump's first wife fell down the stairs the day before she was supposed to go to court and all that?
Yep.
And I saw some videos today of the Kirk incident. And they could be doctored or not, but what they were showing, the angle, it must have been a Kennedy bullet. You know, one that goes past and then comes back. Maybe it ricocheted off the building behind. But the entrance and exit wounds from a 30-06 would have taken his head completely off. So some energy had to come off. Maybe it bounced off, or it wasn't a 30-06.
Well, look, here's what we know.
Another angle.
Here's what we know.
It doesn't take people's heads off.
And not think twice about it.
Okay, but here's my point. I don't have any real evidence to suggest that would be true. Number two, we know that Charlie Kirk is dead. Number three, I believe we know who's responsible for this. Now, if there is any actual real evidence that his defense team can come up with to what you are saying, then certainly I'm open to that discussion. But all the evidence points to the fact that this kid Robinson was responsible.
The 30-06. Let me just tell you, Ken. Let me clarify, because people are listening and they don't know. The 30-06 makes a fairly decent sized hole on the way in, and if it hits bone, if it hit the clavicle or the neck bone or something inside, then the bullet would most likely start to mushroom and split and make a bigger hole coming out on the other side, which is kind of looks like what it did. But it doesn't have, it couldn't take someone's head off. That's just a Dirty Harry expression, and that's not real.
Alexa on the YouTube super chat says, "Why are we bailing out any country when they'll take away Medicaid, food stamps, everything else?" Alexa,
that's what I'm saying.
Completely agree with you. That's what we're both saying. That's what makes
selective subsidies. That's what it is.
Utterly ridiculous. So I agree with you. All right. Apparently, this is an honor, ladies and gentlemen. We have. Apparently, we have Stephen Miller on the line from the Trump administration. I got to be honest. I didn't think that Stephen Miller would listen to a show like this, or I thought that he would censor me and try to get me off the air. Is that true, Mr. Stephen Miller? Is that you on the line?
Yeah, this is Stephen Miller, but this is the real Stephen Miller. And I say that because the Stephen Miller in the White House spells his name like a girl would name herself Stephanie. So that's Stephen Miller. Like Steph Curry's got it right with the Warriors.
Gotcha.
He's Steph.
Gotcha.
I spell my name Steven. So that's why I am the real Stephen Miller. I call him Stephanie Miller.
Let me ask you something, Stephen Miller. Do you really secretly hate all Americans? I'm just asking.
I love Americans. I love everybody.
This is not the Stephen Miller in the White House. Yeah, the Stephen Miller.
No. This is the real Stephen Miller. That's Stephanie Miller.
Of course. So he's Yeah, he's asking Stephanie Miller. We know that you're Stephen Miller. You're very different.
Yeah.
Still, that's got to be very difficult for you to have that name under these circumstances.
Oh, I'm old enough to be back in the day when the Steve Miller Band was very popular. I used to get teased about that. So that's kind of why I went to Steven for a while.
Yeah.
And now I'm back to Steve because I don't want to be associated with that guy.
Not to
be associated with the band.
Not to compare the singer Michael Bolton to Stephen Miller, because I think from what I know, Michael Bolton's a really nice guy. One of my favorite movies is Office Space. And there's a guy in that movie, his name in the movie is Michael Bolton. And he's just harassed and annoyed that everyone talks about Michael Bolton's music. And it just kind of reminded me about that a little bit. Like there's people I know, their names are Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan is actually a very common name. Yeah. I don't know anybody named Donald Trump, thank goodness. But that's got to be a little bit rough. Anyway, the real Stephen Miller, I do appreciate you coming on. Thank you so much. I'm glad I don't have and by the way, some people call me Ben Shapiro. It's so annoying because he's such a little weasel puke.
That guy. Oh,
he's such a little weasel puke.
Wasn't he on Bill Maher a couple of weeks ago? And Bill Maher just had no patience for him because every time he got done speaking, he's like, well, you didn't say anything there. You didn't answer the question, because Ben Shapiro just spouts out just talking point after some people love him. He's popular.
Yeah. I don't understand why, but then again, there's a lot of hateful people out there on the right.
He has nice hair.
Like Laura Loomer and others, there's a lot of hateful people on the right that sadly have large platforms and make a lot of money. I think Ben Shapiro's a horrible person. I only bring that up because, sometimes when I request credentials and I go to certain events, there have been a few times where the credential says Ben Shapiro, and I'm like, oh God. Or I'll get people coming.
You got to bring a marker and
I'll get people coming up to me and they'll say, "Are you related to Ben Shapiro?" I said, "Thank God, no. He's the opposite of what I stand for. That guy is a bigot. He's a coward. And I do believe that if Benjamin Netanyahu bombed America, somehow Ben Shapiro would find a way to defend Benjamin Netanyahu. He is an idiot, and he also goes around talking about how bad certain Jewish people are. Let me tell you something. As someone who is in that religion, let me tell you something. Just because Ben Shapiro wears that little yarmulke on his head doesn't make him a good Jew. In fact, I would say to the contrary. There's a lot of people that I know that are Jewish that think Ben Shapiro is a disgrace to Jews. That's how I feel. Ben Shapiro, you're not only a disgrace to Jews, you're a disgrace to the United States of America. You are a bigot and a coward. And just like Charlie Kirk, much of your life, you only debate a bunch of 18 and 19-year-old liberals on college campuses that are ill-prepared because you are a coward.
Did you ever go on Piers Morgan with him?
No, I would love to.
At the same time?
I would love to, though, and I've gone after him on the Piers Morgan show. I've debated Michael Knowles, who wears the Ben Shapiro knee pads 24/7. Let's go to Carl. Carl is next on PTL. Hey, Carl.
Hey, Brian and Len. Hope you're doing well.
Hi there.
Listen, I got a funny little thing. I don't know if you heard of this, but Trump has just now added a presidential walk of fame to the exterior of the White House, featuring portraits of each of the previous presidents, except for one.
Mm-hmm.
There's no one for Joe Biden. I mean, psychologically, this is childish vindictiveness. I've never heard anything.
Well, if you want to go childish, I think the Democrats need to play the same game. And by the way, I am not joking around. You want to talk about Donald Trump's legacy? I agree with Adam Mockler. Let's get a Democrat president in there that replaces every Donald Trump photo with a picture of him and Jeffrey Epstein so that everybody walks into the White House, remembers who Donald Trump is and who he associated himself with. That's what I think, Carl. And by the way, I'm not joking when I say that. Replace all of Donald Trump's photos with photos of him with one of the biggest sex traffickers ever to walk
It's
the
embarrassing.
face of
it's
the
at
earth.
the White House, and it's embarrassing.
It's completely embarrassing. Brian L. on the YouTube super chat says, Jessica Welch called Scott Jennings and Trump's inner circle fluffers. They take turns keeping his ego hard to curb favor of dear leader priceless. That's a good one. I would say Scott Jennings is a fluffer for
He's a word salad sandwich and no credibility.
Absolute disingenuous clown.
Spent all his credibility
I agree.
in the field of journalism.
No doubt. I agree with you, Brian. Let's go to John. John is next up on PTL. What's up, John?
Hey, guys. What's up? Hey, he got rid of the Rose Garden, right? That was around since the Madison administration.
Correct.
How did he manage to pull that off? I thought that was protected.
My understanding is, unfortunately, it's not. We can also go back to the days where Melania Trump, when she actually lived in the same zip code as Donald Trump, she had tennis courts built there. In fact, I remember on the day on January 6th, she was replacing carpets and stuff, and she cared more about that than what was going on during the insurrection. My understanding, sir, sadly, is that it is not against the law. I find it utterly disgraceful. I find it despicable. Especially what he's doing with this gold in the White House now, looking like a cheap pawn shop.
Yeah, they showed on social media, they showed them online, and you could buy them at some antique store, the same ones, and they're not even gold, they're gold coated. Ugh. And now he's got this ballroom that he keeps showing off, and he just reminds me of Hedwig from Glass. I don't know if you know who that is.
Yeah, I do.
The 9-year-old kid.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
They're trying to talk to him seriously, and he's like, Go ahead.
The next president gets into this. Do they put the Rose Garden back?
I would hope so. Get rid of the stain of Donald Trump and get rid of his underwear as well. Get rid of everything that is Donald Trump in there. But again, if they want to replace his pictures with pictures of him and Jeffrey Epstein, I would be totally okay with that, my friend.
They're definitely going to have to redo his bedroom, get a little deodorizer in there.
Going to have to do something like that. Get rid of all the MAGA herpes in the White House. 702-221-7283, the number to call. Let's go to Gary. Gary is next up on PTL. Hey, Gary, what's up?
Talking about Ben Shapiro. Are y'all any kin?
I'm sorry, what? Repeat that, Gary. I'm sorry.
Are you and Ben Shapiro kin?
Are we family? No, we're definitely not.
I think he might be.
Oh, okay. I didn't think he was.
No.
But anyway, he does nothing but lie. But is it just me? And this is the only thing I got to say. Is it just me, or does he talk like a munchkin? He sounds like a munchkin when he talks.
Well, I don't know if I'd use the word munchkin. I think he talks like a bigot. I said the same thing about Charlie Kirk.
His voice.
He's a bigot. Well, he's a little weasel. He's like, well, let's talk today about the radical left. Hi, I'm Ben Shapiro. Wait, I got a duck here. Let's talk about transgenders today, and let's talk about the radical left in the media. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about how wonderful Benjamin Netanyahu is and Israel. They're doing such a great job with committing genocide in Gaza. Let's talk about what a wonderful job. Oh, I want to fire Candace Owens because, and by the way, I don't defend Candace Owens. This is Brian Shapiro talking now. She's an idiot, but let's fire Candace Owens because she's probably, she's anti-Israel.
Hey, Ben, how do you feel about America tilting to the right?
Oh, I think it's great. I mean, I even though I'm Jewish and my name is Ben Shapiro, I would have no problem with Donald Trump wearing a swastika. Hi, I'm Ben Shapiro.
Well, we know Biden did a great job, when he was in office and did the infrastructure bill.
Yeah, but
and do you still
I think what it is, he reminds me of Trump. Trump's got a annoying voice, and Ben does too. I guess my only point.
Many people are saying that, sir. Many people are saying that. Again, hello, everybody. I'm Ben Shapiro, and I have some wonderful people around me.
Is that a fact, Ben?
Including,
many people are saying it.
Yeah, many people are saying it. Michael Knowles, really smart guy. He might be in the closet, but he's a very smart guy. I'm trying to make what's his name? Matt Walsh, not to be confused with Joe Walsh. I think Matt Walsh does such a great job in attacking transgenders 24/7. I had to make him a part of my platform. But the second that Candace Owens started to criticize Israel, it's when I fired her. It wasn't for all her bigoted comments about transgenders and minorities in this country, but I fired her because she was criticizing the Israeli government. Hi, I'm Ben Shapiro. I'm never going to run for office. And I believe if you're a woman and you've had an abortion, even if you've been raped or the victim of incest, you're a murderer. Hi, I'm Ben Shapiro. I'm very smart, and I only debate 18 and 19-year-old liberals on college campuses. I'm Ben Shapiro.
Ben, do you like women?
That's a very inappropriate question that you would ask that. And, I'll have to you'll have to talk to my people to answer that one. I'm sorry.
So you're not clear on that one yet?
Well, I'm going to refrain from answering that question under oath. Okay. I will not answer that question. All I can tell you is I haven't had sex with my wife since we conceived our baby. That's why him and Donald Trump have so much in common. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. I never tried to do a Ben Shapiro impersonation.
But here's the thing. Here's the weird part. Time. You want to know what the weird part is, Brian? When you spoke, even though it was satire, you actually made more sense with your sentences than he does when he's speaking.
It's probably true.
Is that even possible?
It's probably true. Probably.
It's going to be a great clip, though.
Think of all the despicable people.
But that's how they make their money. That's how they get their views.
Think of all the despicable people that make money off of that kind of hatred and garbage.
Tons of
It's
money.
it's just so sick. It's unbelievable. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's go to Scott. Scott is next up on PTL. Hey, Scott, what's going on?
Helium.
Not much. I was kind of mad at you yesterday a little bit because I had to listen to like 3 or 4 mega callers in a row, and I was getting dumb and dumber, and I was getting that. Not really, but I'm just tired of the hypocrisy. I'm tired of them thinking that Democrats are just like people that are going to get walked over, and we're going to be meek and take whatever they say and whatever they do. And I'm also looking for the Democrats to fight. I'm tired of the kumbaya holding hands stuff. Like, I know Joe Biden had to reach out to them and try to reconcile, but I was like, F that,
Well, you know what? Brian likes to give them their chance. He likes to give
I know.
MAGAs and right-wing extremists, white supremacists, and he invites them to talk on the show. And sometimes people don't like to listen to it, but we have to give them their opportunity.
I was kind of kidding about that. I know they have to have their opportunity to be ignorant, but I'm just grateful to have this outlet. They have like 99% of the AM stations. They have a lot of YouTube, and yet they complain about being censored and having no outlet. And,
Well, of course, listen, my friend, of course they're hypocrites. We always welcome MAGA people to call into this show and prove how stupid they are. And they usually prove it very well. Foxboy on the YouTube Super Chat, thank you for your donation, says, you sounded like you were on helium when I was doing my... Well, that's the way Ben Shapiro talks. He talks like he's never gone through puberty.
He talks like this.
His testicles have never dropped. So, I mean, what do you want me to say? 702-221, his matzo balls. 702-221-7283 is the number
We
to
want
call.
our comedy to be somewhat accurate.
I can't believe I just said that. I just compared Ben Shapiro's testicles to matzo balls. Yes, I did that on live radio. Let's go to Vivian. Vivian is next up on PTL. What's up, Vivian?
Hi, Brian. How you doing today?
I'm doing all right. What's on your mind?
I think that we need to start taking things back, pushing back, and taking things back in reference to they're trying to have their scenario in reference to Christianity, what it really means. What they're saying is not true. What they think that we need is not true. They're taking over, and we need to have more voices out there, more stations, more people out there pushing back on them. Because if you look at, like you said, the conservative TV, pushing back. They're just letting them rattle on whatever they have to say.
Well, listen, hold on a second. I have to interrupt you and say, are you a DEI hire, young lady? You sound like you're a DEI caller. Were you qualified to make this phone call? I don't think you were. I'm sorry. I can't help myself. Ben Shapiro. I can't help it. Ben Shapiro is just,
Hey, Ben,
controlling
do you
me.
think Ben ever read the Bible?
The Bible's my favorite book. Oh, wait, no, Donald Trump said that. And he couldn't.
What does it say about love thy neighbor? Did he not read that page?
Yeah. But what's
your brother's keeper? Did you not read that?
I think
Ben, did you read that in the Bible?
The only book I read was The Art of the Deal. That's the only book that I've ever read in my life. Yeah, Ben Shapiro, you're really smart.
Be another Hitler.
When people walk into a room, have you ever heard the saying, if you walk into a poker table and you sit at a poker table and you can't spot who the bad player is at the table, who that guy person is, you're probably that guy. Ben Shapiro walking into a room always thinks that he's the smartest guy in the room. Let me tell you something. He's not. Because if you're that smart, you'll debate, people that are not 18 and 19-year-old liberals that are maybe unprepared. And I'm sorry, the late Charlie Kirk did the exact same thing.
True.
Thank you for the call, my dear. I'm sorry I called you a DEI hire. I really didn't mean that. But anytime there's a plane crash, I'm going to blame it on DEI.
hires ruining the world? Are they ruining America?
That's all Ben Shapiro talks about. He talks about transgenders. He talks about DEI hires. He talks about drag queen reading. And he talks about how horrible murderers are.
Like Riley.
Yeah, I mean, that's Ben Shapiro and Riley Gaines are very similar
Riley
in a lot of
Gaines
ways.
does nothing but talk about Christianity and then spews hatred of certain types of people. And you know what?
Can I ask you a question?
Well, let me just tell you, in the Bible, did she miss the part that says not to judge harshly lest you be judged? Or the part that says, if you don't show any mercy, there will be no mercy? Did she miss that part?
I think
she's a Christian. I know it's in there.
I think I want to start calling Ben Shapiro by pronoun she and Riley Gaines by pronoun he, and see if they like that very much, because I think there's actually a chance that might be true.
Go ahead, what was the question?
That was the question. I mean, what do you think?
Give them pronouns?
Does Ben Shapiro have male genitals? I guess that's the question that I'm asking you.
How about an adjective? Instead of a pronoun, how about just Ben? How about that?
Benji? I don't know.
Benji?
Benji?
Benshi.
Benjamin?
Ben Sheep.
Ben Sheep.
Ben Shapiro.
I like Ben Sheep, but that sounds like a little Asian.
How about Ben
doesn't it?
Sheep?
Ben Sheep is a good one. I like that. I like that one. That could work. Ben Sheep sounds like a real name, you know.
We're gonna get in trouble like Jimmy Kimmel. I'm telling
you.
For having really good comedy.
Yeah.
Really satirical comedy.
It's satire. Maybe the FCC will go after us. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's go to Will. Will is next up on PTL. Hello, Will. What's going on?
Hey, Brian. Hey, Leonard. How you doing?
Will. What's up, Will?
Listen, I just wanted to say a real quick point. There's something that came to light, and I'm always about facts, and I actually checked it out to make sure. And I just wanted to know if you guys have known, and I know you wanted to get off the Charlie Kirk thing, this and that, but has anybody ever mentioned to you that Erica Kirk was in a beauty pageant in Arizona when she was 17? And
why is that
was owned by Donald Trump?
Why is that relevant?
How's that relevant?
Who cares? Well, with respect, who cares?
Well, it's just, to me, it just seems that all these people are intertwined. Like, birds of a feather flock together.
Will, are you aware that Donald Trump bragged about going into those teenage dressing rooms on the Howard Stern show? So if you want to talk about teenagers and beauty pageants,
maybe that's how they met.
If you want to talk about beauty pageants and teens, why don't you ever bring up the fact that Donald Trump bragged about going into those dressing rooms? Doesn't that bother you? Who cares if Charlie?
Of course it does.
Then why would you support somebody like that?
No, I'm not supporting it at all.
Today,
I'm just saying that there is a connection.
What? Who cares?
With all of.
What do you mean? Help me understand. Well, I'm sorry. I'm having trouble following you. What do you mean there's a connection?
What I'm saying is that when you have this type of corruption, there's people willing to corrupt with you, and you have to have common.
Okay, I misunderstood your point. So you're saying that. Okay, I apologize. I think I misunderstood your point, and I jumped on you a little bit there. So you're
no. Yeah. That's I totally understand.
Yeah, I didn't mean it. So you're
hasn't been really talked about.
So I
wanted to get your point.
Yeah, Will, I think I understand, but let me just try to make sure I'm getting you right, and I apologize for. No.
That's cool.
So you're making the claim, Will, and I think I understand and I agree with you that, there's some connections to who's in the Trump administration, whether it be Charlie Kirk's wife back in the day when she was a beauty pageant. You saw the hug that he gave her, by the way, at the funeral. It was very awful.
Let me just say, my wife said she couldn't even look at that video because just naturally, because she's a woman, it just grossed her out.
Well, I'm at the point now in my life where I almost assume that when someone praises Charlie Kirk or praises Charlie Kirk's wife, and I know you weren't doing that, by the way, but I'm almost
not at all.
No, I know you weren't, and I apologize. But I'm almost
no apology.
I'm almost at the point now where, like, when I hear anybody say anything positive about Donald Trump or Charlie Kirk, it's just like I'm just.
Well, I think he was trying to say it's a conspiracy with the beauty pageants and the public speakers and the Trump administration and Caroline Leavitt. She was also in beauty contests. But I would say that's a good. Well, let me just finish. Well, I think that's a good observation. But remember, corruption is its own magnet. So if some people are drawn to corruption, they're drawn to negativity, they're drawn to hatred and racism. And so that can be its own magnet, but there might have been some conspiracy as well.
By the way, what I did to Will is almost as bad as what people do to me when they call me Ben Shapiro. So I'm sorry for that, Will.
No, like I said, I just wanted to say in terms of how all these people are just so quick to defend this man and, do so unethical things and criminal things. And it's just, I feel like it's like this whole big group that they're intertwined.
But Will, they're people of Jesus, though. They're Jesus's children. They're good, wholesome Christians. They're religious people.
As a Catholic, I'm offended by them saying that they're Christian because they're doing nothing that is anything that a good Christian would do.
And thank you, Will. And I'm sorry I misinterpreted what you were saying.
No problem.
Thanks for that.
Have a great day. I appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you, Will. And by the way, someone on social media said, Brian, it wasn't a funeral, it was a remembrance. What's the difference? He's still talking about hating people. A remembrance is supposed to remember somebody and talk about them, not talk about the people in politics you hate. So for anybody, Brian, it wasn't a funeral, it was a remembrance. Who cares? Who cares? Just because his casket wasn't there doesn't mean that you should be saying the things that Donald Trump was saying. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's go to Kathy. Kathy is next up on PTL. Hey, Kathy, what's up?
Hello, Brian and Lemner. Just wanted to bring up something. If you happen to have Paul call in, our friend from the UK, because he would have more insight on this than I would. What's not really being reported into the news is that yesterday, allegedly Russia flew some drones into the airport over in Copenhagen and disrupted the air traffic
That is
for
correct. In Denmark,
several
yes.
hours.
Yes.
Yes. And this is not the only thing that Russia has done. They have also flown Russian fighter jets over Estonia, as well as drones in Romania, in Poland, and Estonia. So something is going on.
Well, those are all the border
And
countries on the other side of Ukraine.
Yes, and these are all-
Yeah, and Denmark said it was a hybrid of different drones and some other military apparatus that they didn't want to identify at this point. But yes, I think you're saying it was a provocation, right?
Right, and these are also NATO nations.
Right.
What actually concerns me is that you know how our fearless leader is anti-NATO. And these provocations are coming increasingly, and we have not heard our fearless leader say anything about these.
Yeah,
or
because
condemn
he
these.
favors Putin, and he's letting
Right.
Putin get away with way too much, in my opinion. And he's just sitting back. And now today, I guess his latest position is, let the boys fight it out, right? Didn't he say something like that in the media, where yeah, we'll keep selling arms to NATO, but they're going to have to work it out, and he will not go against Putin. He just won't.
Nope, it's gone from
Right.
the war will end in 24 hours to I was just being sarcastic. This is Joe Biden's war, to let the boys fight it out.
Yeah, and he met with the president of Hungary today, who wants additional sanctions lifted because they were sanctioned for buying Russian oil.
Right.
And he's meeting with them today because the president wants to try to talk him out of the additional sanctions.
Exactly. By the way, the portion of this program brought to you by the official gaming bar of the PTL radio show. Of course, I'm talking about Jackson's Bar and Grill, located at Fleming and Jones.
Promo
They're
spot.
giving away some amazing, beautiful, and very expensive watches this Tuesday. The more the machines you play there, the more raffle tickets electronically you have.
I need
in
a
this
watch.
drum. Yeah, they're giving away several very expensive watches. Everyone's entered as long as you're playing and you earn points. You get in there. That'll be this Tuesday. For more details, check them out. Great food, great atmosphere, great people. Jackson's Bar and Grill, located at Flamingo and Jones. Tell them I sent you. Let's now go to the UK since he was just spoken to. We always love hearing from Paul. Paul, what's going on?
Hey there, Brian Highland. It's thanks for taking the call. Just a couple of things. Hi. Just a couple of things. Just from yesterday, Brian, I've got a slight lisp, so it's not thick as a brick; it's thick as a brick. Just thought I'd say that.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
There's a little misunderstanding there on the video. Now, on the Argentina thing, my understanding, and obviously there's no proof of this, but with Donald Trump, you should always follow the money. Is that Argentina are the second biggest producers of lithium, and lithium is what Elon Musk needs. So it wouldn't somewhere along the line there's money.
Well, everything that Donald Trump does is transactional, right?
Including having sex with Stormy Daniels. Yeah.
That was transactional.
Yeah, that was very transactional. It was, by the way, my understanding, Paul, my understanding is it was $10,000 per second. Because it was somewhere around 13 seconds. So that's
terrible.
Yeah.
Hey, Paul, can I ask you a question since you're calling from the UK? Do you mind if I
go ahead?
I ask you?
Of course.
So they're saying that the Prime Minister announced yesterday that they're going to start requiring digital ID in the UK and that everyone has to carry it. And number one, do you agree with that? And is that accurate? And that's how they're going to try to combat immigration. Is that correct?
Well, I don't know if that's a firm thing yet. I don't think
it's not yet, but they say it's coming.
It. Well, I tell you, I've got mixed feelings about things like this. I certainly don't, but I don't believe in any right-wing stances on immigration. If there's one thing we should learn is that you've got to be kind to people. There's no other route. History teaches us this, and I find this spread of unkindness and cruelty that's creeping into all politics, including British, is really insidious and horrible, and I hate it. I'm a guy who carries a pocket full of change when I go into London. So if I see somebody begging, I give them the money. And people will say, well, maybe they're going to buy drugs. I'll say, maybe they need the drugs. I don't know. I just give them the money.
They sound like you're a good man.
So I find it insidious. Like, for example, you have to carry an ID when you vote now, which is okay. It's no big deal. It's a driving license. I mean, it used to be you didn't have to carry ID. You just give your name and address.
But this is a digital ID that you have to have on you at all times, and you can be asked at any time to show your digital ID. That's what's proposed.
Well, I quite honestly, I haven't. I have quite an intense type of work life, so I don't know much about it. But I'll research it because I can't give you an educated answer.
Gestapo stuff, but that's just my opinion.
Well, there's stuff going on in the UK that I don't like. Yeah. I mean, there are people who've been putting up Union Jacks everywhere, hanging on lampposts, and they're not doing it in a nice way.
No, you're right.
I was brought up to be patriotic. My dad brought me up. I had to stand up for the national anthem. And he used to come on at the end of the night after the TV shut down. Yeah. My dad would make me stand up. I don't mind that. Mm-hmm. I don't mind being proud of who you are and where you are. There's nothing wrong with it. I cheer for the England football team. Nothing wrong with it at all. There's a difference when you use it as a weapon to beat people who are not in the club.
Yeah.
That's
you're right.
difference.
That's a good point, Paul.
And this is what so much of Trumpism is about. You're not in the club. The problem with the people who think they're in the club is they'll soon be out of the club as well.
Well, we always appreciate callers from other countries, and we encourage that, and we're always glad to hear from you, Paul.
Paul, I appreciate you. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
All right,
thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Paul. Always good to hear from you. This is what I want to do. I want to take a quick break because it's like 100 degrees here in the studio. We're going to get comfortable. And then, is it hot in yours or just me? I don't know.
I think it's just you.
I think it's just me.
Yeah, too many apple juice combo.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
I had McDonald's today for lunch. Maybe that's it.
I had McDonald's for breakfast. And outside of McDonald's, I bought 2 homeless men breakfast.
Wow, that's really nice.
I did.
You. That is very, very nice of you.
I'm not too big on giving them money, because you don't know what they're going to do with it. But
yeah.
But I don't mind buying them some food.
Good. Well, I'm glad you did that. Was it Rudy Giuliani? Who did you? We'll take a quick break.
It was a veteran who was in a wheelchair, electric
well,
wheelchair, and another gentleman sitting there.
Well, in all seriousness, that's really sad, and it's very kind of you to do that. All right, we'll take a quick break. We'll be back in 90 seconds. We'll go back to the YouTube chat, and we'll take some more phone calls at 702-221-7283. You're listening to Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
Hey, everybody. Are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premier Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super. Hero, that is. Because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
You are way too smart, way too talented, way too good to be where you are. You are meant to be making way more money, feel way hotter in your body, and having way more fun. Hi, I'm Nicole Mitchell, and I'm a life coach. I help you get hotter and richer. If that is what you're looking for, you can find me at NicoleMitchell.com. My name, Nicole, is with a K, NicoleMitchell.com. You can reach out to me on my website or on Instagram, and I will be happy to be in touch and figure out what you're looking for and how I can support you in getting there.
Who would have thought there'd be so many kids playing ice hockey in the desert? Jake Helb's Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, founded by Gina Yousafzai 8 years ago, made it possible for families who can't afford the equipment and fees. Donate today at www.hockeyforkids.org and help us continue making a difference. Join us in supporting Jake Helb's Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, where every kid gets a shot at the starting line. Just a reminder, our website is www.hockeyforkids.org.
Kiss World Mini Golf.
All right, welcome back. Pushing the limits on a Thursday. Thank you so much for joining us. Programming note for you. Two friends of mine that I absolutely love. They do a great job covering politics. And my friend Paul Dominic, you know him as a former MSNBC contributor. He's also now a CNN contributor, and he's a very funny comedian. Pete Dominic is going to be joining us on the show tomorrow. And it's been a little while since we had JoJo from Jurors joining us. Love having her on. I think she's great.
She is really good.
JoJo's a personal friend of mine, and she's going to be joining us tomorrow as well. And the beautiful and talented Nicole Mitchell. So I'm certainly looking forward to the show tomorrow as we go to the YouTube super chat. Mike says, hey, Brian and Leonard, keep up the great work. Maybe Trump is giving the money to Argentina because his administration is going to need to flee there in a few years. That's actually pretty funny.
I think I'm suspicious that they're going to build a facility there for deportees. I thought maybe that was something they were kicking around. I don't know if anybody's suspicious of that, but Trump has been looking for a South American country to deport people to. So
yeah,
that might be in the works.
Immortal Suspects, always generous with his donation, says Donald Trump fears Putin and everyone knows it. And does. Leonard for governor. There you go. Thank 38. You. Thank you, Immortal.
Plus, there was one in the chat, so that's 39.
Thank you, Immortal, for your generosity. We do appreciate you. Let's go back to the phone calls at 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's go to Stanley. Stanley is next up on PTL. Hello, Stanley.
Chewy is a German giant rabbit with a signature foot stomp when he eats.
I have no idea what that means.
What did he say?
I don't know. And then he hung up the phone. Must have been a MAGA caller. 702-22.
What are they afraid of, Brian?
I don't know. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's go to Thomas. Thomas is next up on PTL. Hey, Thomas, what's going on?
Hello. Can you hear me?
Barely. You sound like you're in a thunderstorm, but that's okay. Go ahead.
1 second. I'll fix it.
Okay.
Is that better?
Yeah, you must be God. You ended the storm. I'm sorry. Go right ahead.
I'm just tuning into the show. Got a little free time here at work, so I don't know if you've already discussed this today, but I just wanted to know your guys' thoughts on Pete Hegseth calling all the admirals and generals to D.C.
And by the way, nobody knows why, by the way, right, Leonard? It's the
well,
weird thing.
Brian and I had not talked about it on the show, but prior to the show, we discussed it a bit. And I have and remember, this is just a conspiracy, I guess you could call it. I think he's getting together with them and all the leaders and all the bosses and explaining to them over the next several months and definitely before the midterms, he wants to start to have more of a presence in all of the major cities in America. And I think that's the plan because there's no guarantee the midterms are even going to happen.
Yeah.
I think Donald Trump may declare war or have some other kind of excuse or say that that elections are fraudulent in America and he's not going to allow it. So I think they're preparing for something big. That's just my guess.
I mean, it's got to be something very, very important. Nobody seems to know what it's about. He's putting all these
people in a room. And if it's a
room.
secret, it's bad. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah.
If you're hiding it, what do you think, Thomas? If they're hiding it, it has to be something bad, right?
No, I didn't even consider putting the military in major cities. I just instantly thought of war. I thought of, us actually sending people over to help Ukraine at this point. That was my initial thought, to stop the midterms or whatever. I thought that's what was going to happen.
Trump disagree with when Putin threatened the European countries with having police on the ground to police those areas? He make another threat. So I don't know if Trump is willing to put even police to keep the peace over there, a peacekeeping force. I don't know if he's even willing to do that because he's afraid of Putin.
Then I have one more, it's not a thought, it's a thought. I'm so tired of seeing conservatives over the last day say that Jimmy Kimmel didn't take any accountability and didn't even say sorry when their own leader can't take accountability and can't say sorry for anything he's ever done.
Anything. You're so right on that.
And he almost cried. He actually said that, I'm sorry. I never meant to say that somebody should have died. I never want anyone to get hurt. And he got emotional. And so nothing's ever good for the MAGAs, right?
No,
right, Brian?
and
nothing's ever good. Nothing
I-
legit and genuine is even good enough for them.
And listen, me and Jimmy Kimmel are not buddies, but he knows who I am. I know who he is because I see him multiple times at his comedy club here. I've had good conversations with him. I can tell you, man, based on my interactions with him, he's a really good guy. And he's a compassionate person. You see that on his show. Yes, he mocks how ridiculous the Trump administration is and Donald Trump, but never would he ever celebrate somebody's death. It's a lie being put forth by the right. We go to the YouTube super chat. Larry with the donation says, I love the show. I'm from Reno, Nevada. Keep your foot on the fascist necks. Keep calling out the lies and gaslighting. Well, Larry, as long as there's people like you out there, we'll continue to do our thing. So I do appreciate that. 702-221-7283. The MAGA callers seem to be a little afraid to call in today. I might have given it to them too hard yesterday. That's usually what happens.
Maybe we can promise that I will be nice. I can't promise for you. We'll promise that I'll be nice if they call.
Oh, I will never make that promise. Let's go to Kim. Kim is next up on PTL. What's up, Kim?
Hey, Brian. Hey, Leonard. Sorry, I'm going to throw a little wrench in your topic. I've been waiting a couple of days for things to die down, but I want to address the autism thing. So, in 2016, the NIH published a study, a long-term study that took place with, I believe it was 2.3 million children regarding acetaminophen and autism. And people need to understand the difference between a correlation and a causation. So the small amount of correlation that they found, they could not rule out or rule in due to hereditary factors. Now, when Dr. Oz began pushing leucovorin as a treatment for profound autism, I nearly hit the roof. So if you don't know, leucovorin is a folinic acid. It's primarily prescribed to people receiving chemotherapy to combat some of the side effects. In 2020, there was a study done regarding leucovorin and profound autism. Now, in order to diagnose somebody to take the leucovorin with profound autism, you need to do a spinal tap. So you need to have either a neuropsychologist or a neurologist determine whether the brain function is in need of leucovorin. Did it show results? Yes. Some had some return of verbal skills. Some had some decrease in behaviors. But here's the problem I have. Because I am involved in the autism community, my feeds on all my social media are inundated with now mothers and supplement pushers on the internet pushing over-the-counter leucovorin for children. Now, I think we all know with common sense, any supplement given to children needs to be cleared by a physician. Supplements can be very dangerous to children in any form. So I'll give you an example. My son takes melatonin. He is autistic, but it is approved by his doctor because melatonin does have long-term side effects. So you have to weigh the side effects versus the benefits of any drug. But what I'm seeing now is this horrendous damage to the community, horrendous damage to children. I see these mothers on TikTok buying these supplements off TikTok to give to their children without consulting a physician. As a mom in the autism community, I think, and anybody out there that disagrees with me that has a child with autism or is autistic, we don't want, I'm so angry. We don't want and we don't need a cure. Leave our kids alone. What we need is acceptance, services, the reduction in stigma, workplaces accepting them for positions in jobs. We don't need a cure. We don't need Dr. Oz, the #1 pusher of supplemental garbage on the internet, getting up in front of this whole nation and telling people to go out and get this drug for their children.
You make a good point, Kim. That was very laid out, very intelligent argument. Very good.
Yeah, really good call. I appreciate you. 702-221-7283. But yeah, don't take Tylenol. We know how dangerous that is. Let's go to Marcia. Marcia's next up. Marcia next up. Hi, Marcia.
Hi, Brian. Hi, Leonard.
Hi, Marcia.
How are you?
Good.
Well, I'm not good, and I'm going to tell you why I'm not good. I phoned in the last time I phoned in, and I'm sure if I could get you to remember what I said, is that the guns have to go in America. They have to go. It proved everything that I said to you the last time. I am so concerned for all you guys over there and your safety. I sit up at night. I pray for you guys every night. I want to see you guys safe, just like we're safe here in Canada. We don't have guns that are legal. We have universal health care for people that deserve to be looked after. Your government needs to look after you.
We keep asking them,
but do it over here with less of us over here than you guys over there.
Can I ask you a question, Marcia?
Do it.
Can I ask you a question? With 400 million guns in America and only 330 million people, and I'm not doing this in a way to try to got you with a question, but where do you start?
Make guns illegal.
Whoa, hold on a second. Okay, hold on.
Police officers.
Hold on.
Soldiers.
Hold on.
And hunters that get a license are the only ones that should have guns.
Okay, but hold on a second. You're saying that all guns should be taken away from people?
Well, she mentioned
only
hunting
qualified people like police officers.
Can't happen. Here's why.
Soldiers.
Okay, but hear me out on this. In a perfect world, I think that would be just fine. It won't happen because there are too many illegal guns out there. So here's where I think we should start. And we all know that Republicans would never go for that. So what we should do and what Republicans won't do, start by raising the age from 18 to 21, have an assault weapons ban, more red flag laws strict put on the books, make sure that people have to take a training course in order to purchase a weapon, and have stronger laws put in place for those that have illegal guns or those that sell illegal guns. You're never going to take fully the Second Amendment away from every individual. In a perfect world, I would be okay with that, but there's too many illegal guns out there. You have to start somewhere, and I think that's too extreme. And the problem is Republicans won't do anything. So we can't do the extreme when they won't even agree on comprehensive background checks. So, I mean, it's...
we can't even get them to agree to the low-hanging fruit, the easy ones.
It's sad because I'm going to tell you something. When you went to Colorado, I was flipping my shit over here. I was so worried for you. If anything happens to you or Leonard or Adam or Dean or Parker or all you wonderful men, I will be beside myself.
Well, that's very sweet of you to say. I will say this. The people at the Unf America tour did a very good job with security, and they protected us, Destiny, and I really do appreciate it. And again, it's not like I'm disagreeing with you on this. Yeah, I think guns do far more harm than good. In a perfect world, I would be totally okay with what you're saying. But we have to do what is logically what could be done. And when Democrats can't even get Republicans to agree on some comprehensive gun reform, then how are you going to ban all guns? And I don't think there's any Democrat that's advocating for that. I think many Democrats advocate what I advocate for, which are the things that I just mentioned. But it's not that I disagree with you. I want to be very clear on this.
Let's start with the easy stuff. That's what I say.
Right.
It doesn't have to be a big bite. Let's take a small bite. Let's start going in the right direction. And she seems like a very nice lady.
Yeah.
But, I put myself in harm's way for a good portion of my life. So, for doing the right thing. And so have you, Brian, because let's face it, anybody who's a public figure out there speaking and having discourse with the other side could potentially these days become a target.
I appreciate your kind words, though, my dear. Thank you so much.
You're a very nice lady.
I appreciate that. And I'm certainly going to go out there with the Unf America tour. I told you that. I'm going to be out there at those Turning Point USA events, and I'm going to be doing the show remotely out there. Leonard will be here in studio, so he will still be my co-host. And I look forward to meeting all of you out there. I met a lot of people at Colorado State, and I was very humbled by that. It was a lot of fun. And I had a great time. And the people with this tour, just Z, and just there's so many wonderful people, including Destiny, too. I really enjoyed spending some time with him. 702-221-7283, the number to call. Let's go to Matthew. Matthew is next up on PTL. Hey, Matthew, what's going on?
Hello, I just want to share my opinion on everything going on, and I feel like we approach the topics that were just covered. One, I feel guns are not necessarily a bad thing. It's the people who use them wrong. I feel like guns are not bad or good. I feel like when it comes down to it, I'd rather have a gun than have no gun when police or any government just decides to say, all right, fuck the people.
Oh, watch the language. Watch the language.
Yeah,
you can't swear on this show.
Yeah, no curse
Okay,
words.
hold on a second. Okay, hold on. Let's backtrack a little bit here, Matthew. So you're totally okay with an 18-year-old with no training going into a gun store and buying thousands of rounds of ammunition and a couple AR-15s? Are you totally okay with that?
No.
Okay.
What I mean is, I'd rather have responsible people own them.
But when we're how do we do a better job with that?
Who determines who's responsible?
Right.
Because right now they're selling them to everyone who legally can buy them, and in some states, very young people and as many guns as they want, as many rounds as they want. So I think what Brian was trying to say, he's trying to press on the fact that we need to have some regulation. We need to have some common sense laws. But if you can't get one side to agree to even the simplest law, even the lowest level law, then what are you supposed to do? That's what I'm saying. That's what I said to Marcia.
I guess in my opinion would be, it can't just be up to the government. I guess you'd have to start from the families and hopefully teach from then on responsibility. I feel like everything starts.
I don't trust people, but I don't trust.
Yeah, but you have to have licensing to influence people.
Matthew, why do we need assault weapons in society? Why do we need that? And I'm not talking about
assault weapons. I'm not talking like that high. I'm talking like maybe a handgun for every person. Kind of
I've
stuff.
never ever said on this show that I don't think if you're not a non-felon that everybody should have the right to defend themselves. I disagree with the other caller in getting rid of guns altogether. I just don't think that's not logical.
It's not a good place.
But at the same time, we shouldn't have these types of assault weapons. We should have a better way of checking if people are mentally healthy enough to have a gun. And let's be honest about this. The reason why we have so many guns in this country is the same reason why, in my opinion, we don't have a cure for diabetes. We don't have a cure for cancer and other diseases. I believe we could have a cure, but it's money.
There's no money in it.
Too much money. There's so much money when it comes to guns, and there's so much money when it comes to these diseases that we suffer with in this country. And I really do believe, and I'm not trying to be Alex Jones on you corrupt government, but I really do believe that's the reason why.
No, money's greed. It corrupts everything. I completely agree with that. And I feel like as people get more money, they tend to lose the focus of
the NRA.
Why the hell's that?
The NRA donates millions and millions of dollars to their lobbyists, and they're all over the legislature in Washington, D.C., and they have a lot of influence.
No doubt. I appreciate Go ahead. Before we let you go. Go ahead.
Can I just say my last piece? Sure. I just feel this is so sad. I feel like they should outright ban that. And second of all, I feel like the reason they don't want a common man like you, me, anyone out there running for anything is because they know someone out there will be morally not corrupt and they will change the game.
Yep.
But sadly, they only allow the rich people to run, and that's a sad
Thank you, Matthew.
I think it's very well said, and I appreciate your call, Matthew. Thank you very much. I talk about gun control a lot on this show, Leonard, and you're one that knows a thing or two about guns. You have a concealed carry, and you're a former lieutenant, a police officer. You were trained on how to use guns.
I have. Let me just interrupt. I have thousands of hours of training.
Right.
And until you start to have some serious training, you don't even understand how the laws apply and how dangerous a firearm actually is.
No question about it. And we certainly don't have enough in society when it comes to, it doesn't make any sense to me that when you drive a car, well, it makes sense, but when you drive a car, you have to have an instructor, you have to pass a test and I know driving a car is a privilege and having a weapon is, your constitutional right. I get all that, but it should be very similar to getting your license where you should have to re-register your gun. They have to make sure your health is intact, your eyesight and all that stuff. They don't do any of that stuff. And it's sick. We live in a sick society where Americans are obsessed with our guns. And because of that obsession, things happen to people like what happened to Charlie Kirk, what happens to very young children in school. It's awful.
Can I mention something on that? Because Crystal in the chat mentioned that it wouldn't have saved Charlie Kirk. And I understand her position, but you have to do something. We can't just sit back and go, oh, well, it wouldn't have helped in this situation. And, oh, well, he had his dad's hunting rifle. I understand that. But what Brian is saying is you have to start to take steps forward to protect people.
Anybody who says something like that and makes a generalized statement like that, I find that to be reprehensible. I don't know if there are any laws out there that would have prevented Charlie Kirk from being assassinated. But here's what I do know. And to kind of explain to what Leonard was referring to, which I agree with, we can't just put our hands in the air and say, oh, well, bad people are going to get their hands on guns. There's nothing we can do about it. I list 5 or 6 things every time we talk about gun control on this show. And I'm not saying that it would end all the gun violence in this country, but I can guarantee you it would lower the gun violence. I've talked about raising the age from 18 to 21. I've talked about a 2-hour class that you have to take, the basics on how to shoot a gun and how to store a gun. I've talked about re-registering your guns. I've talked about stronger laws if you're caught with an illegal gun or you sell an illegal gun.
Background checks.
I've talked about comprehensive background checks. I've talked about the loopholes at some of these gun shows. Just give me 2 of those, and I guarantee you gun violence will go down. And MAGA Republicans want to make it sound like all the gun violence is gang violence and black-on-black crime. Again, the 3 people, 2 of whom tried to assassinate Donald Trump, and the person who assassinated Charlie Kirk are white men. 2 out of the 3 we know for sure were Republicans. Okay.
And as you know, there's a big list, Brian.
Yes.
If we could go on and on, there's a big list of names that we can name.
Yes. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Casey is next up on PTL. Hey, Casey, thanks for calling in. What's on your mind?
Hi, boys. Aloha from the new open carry in Florida. Our great, our famous drag queen, Rhonda Santos, now has made it to where you can go to Publix, our local grocery store, and have an AR-15 strapped to your belt. But the flip side of the coin here is that from what they're saying is, if an establishment says, even though we're open carry here in Florida, and an establishment says you're not allowed to have your open carry, and you still consistently try to bring it into that establishment, it is a felony. All right.
That'd be, if it's posted on the outside, that would be breaking the law.
Right. It will be a felony. But, you know, we're the only country around the global world that has these gun massacres. The north of us, our brothers and sisters up in Canada are laughing at us.
Nevada, I live in Nevada. That's an open carry state. Right here in Nevada, you can walk around with a pistol on your side, and you can go shopping at Walmart or Kmart, or you can go just about anywhere you want.
But why is Canada living civilized? They're north of us. They play video games. They're living civilized. Why are they not having this problem? Because here in the United States, okay, and it started with the Bundy standoff, conservatives are scared of their own shadow. They want to stockpile all these guns so they can. That's how we take on the government. They want this civil war in this country. And the first time, if you remember, was that Bundy standoff when those rednecks. Yeah. Remember with the cattle grazing that the government was trying to give them a bill for their fees, and they said, "Oh, we're not paying this." Remember the Bundy standoff? That was the first time that these conservatives have an opportunity to take on our government, and they won. And then you got January 6th. It was in testimony. They didn't have them on the property there, but they had them in the hotels. They were packing to the gills. They want this flex. They want to be able to they want to take on our government, and they won. That's the saddest thing. In Parkland, when we had the Parkland shooting, the father looked right at Marco Rubio the 2 days after and asked him, "How can you take money from the NRA?" And Marco Rubio couldn't even look him in the face.
No, he just passed on the question. He didn't even answer it.
Right, you remember that, fellas?
Yeah. He changed the subject, and he didn't really answer, and I thought it was embarrassing.
What we need to do is modernize the Second Amendment to fit the 21st century. And unfortunately, my boys, and I'm older than you, will never see it in our lifetime because they don't want to fix the problem.
Listen, you're right. Listen. Two quick points on what you made. First of all, when a bunch of children get massacred in a school, and then you have Republicans in office in Congress that show up in D.C. with AR-15 pins, there is no hope for America. I will also say that I've never heard, maybe you guys have, but I've never heard of a Democrat running for office in their campaign ad brag about their A-plus rating from the NRA. There's only one party that does that, and that's the Republican Party, and they care more about their A-plus rating from the NRA than our children being gunned down in schools. And then when they are gunned down in schools, besides saying thoughts and prayers, you'll have idiots like Ted Cruz say, well, we need to harden our schools. We need to give our kindergarten teachers AR-15s. We need to make sure that the back door is locked. That's what the Republicans do after these mass shootings. But you see, after Charlie Kirk is killed, they certainly still don't talk about gun control, but they blame the radical left. Well, let me say this to all of you right now. The reason why we have so much, not all of it, but so much gun violence in this country are because of MAGA right-wing Republicans that are cowards who think more guns make you safer, and they lie so they can get their A-plus rating and that they can remain in office. The Republicans have blood on their hands. Democrats have been trying to work with Republicans on this for decades, unsuccessfully to no fault of their own. The MAGA Republicans and the ones that make love to their guns every night have all blood on their hands, period.
They're called amosexuals. Brian, they're called amosexuals. You know why they wore those AR-15s on their lapel shirts when Lauren Bogue and all them? It's because they like to antagonize. We are owning the libs. Let's make the libs cry. It's not. These are the fun-loving Christians, my boys. These are the fun-loving.
Well,
Christians.
I have heard that Lauren Boebert likes to play with somebody else's gun during a Beetlejuice play. I did hear that rumor. I don't know if that's true or not, but anyway, I do appreciate the call, my friend. Thank you very much. A little bit levity in what has been a very difficult few weeks, and emotions obviously are very high. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Shay. Shay is next on PTL. What's up, Shay?
How you doing? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Go right ahead.
I want to talk about the government shutdown doom here this upcoming week, well, next week. And I got to tell you this. Any Democrat that vote for this bill, they need to be effectively primary in their next election. I am at the point now where either you fight for what this country stands for, because right now we are in a state of urgency. I'm hearing Hakeem Jeffries, I'm hearing Schumer, and it looks like Schumer is getting ready to cave again. They need to pull a move that Republicans did. You remember John Boehner?
Yeah, of course.
You remember how they kicked him out?
I
do.
do.
The Tea Party basically effectively kicked him out.
Yep.
That progressive caucus in the House, I'm sorry, the Senate Democrats need to kick him out. Forget waiting for his primary. He needs to go. Because right
Shay,
now,
let me ask you something. Can I ask you something? Would it be the end of the world if the Democrats just told the Republicans, go ahead and pass the bill without us and shut the government down, and whatever happens, happens? Because I can tell you right now, Trump has said in the past, I don't care, shut the government down. I don't care, shut them down. So I don't think the Dems are going to get as much blame as they think they are. Plus, they're protecting the Affordable Care Act. That's why they won't vote for it.
I think the problem is that, and I talked about this last time I was on here, the reason why I want a government shutdown is because these red states have been getting subsidized by these blue states for decades.
75%.
And I wish these blue states would stop subsidizing these Republican red states and let them be on their own. Just let them be on their own.
I don't disagree.
I agree. Shut the government down.
I don't disagree.
Brian?
No, I
say let's play it out. Let's play this hand
the
out.
reason why I have a problem with obviously the government shutdown, there's a lot of good working hard Americans within the government that will not be getting paid, and I certainly feel for them. But at the same time, I understand why the caller would say that. Let's go to Mark, who's calling from Las Vegas. Hey, Mark, what's going on, man?
Wow, a local.
Hey, hi Brian, hi Leonard.
What's up?
Hey, three things pretty quick. One, Republicans are super afraid of tyrannical government until they vote it in, and then all of a sudden they're all in favor of it.
Yeah.
So it's obviously it's an irony there. Hey Leonard, what is the effective range for an AR-15 semi-automatic rifle?
Well, a lot of it depends on what kind of apparatus. Do you have a scope? Do you have a laser? Are you shooting with iron sights? But with an AR-15, you can probably go, the maximum range is probably 400 or 500 yards. But the rounds that they've been using in the Charlie Kirk, the 30-06, and it looks like this recent shooting with ICE was possibly an 8mm. That's not a fact. But those are heavy rounds that can go several hundred yards.
So the reason I bring that up is that these people talk about up-armoring schools and whatever, or limiting access points and things like this. And somebody with an AR-15 and a scope or a little bit of background could sit there how far away and shoot a bunch of kids as they're exiting the schools anyway, and nobody could stop them.
Well, with an AR-15, a couple hundred yards is not really a difficult shot with an AR-15.
Right.
That's
so
pretty effective
people,
range.
Yeah, so these people talking about, well, we just need more armed security, et cetera, you know what, that's just idiotic. And the third point is that when we did have a semi-automatic ban, that kind of violence went down, showing it works. And one other quick thing, the number of guns in this country isn't spread evenly among the population. I noticed that many of these mass shooters end up with 20 or 30 guns or even more.
Oh, you're right.
You know, there's
you're right.
Right. It's not one gun for every person. Some people have, 15, 18, 20 guns in their house.
Mark, we're running out of time, so sorry to cut you
Thanks,
short
Mark.
there. I got to take one more call. It would not be a show without the MAGA Destroyer. Darlene, what's going on, girl?
Oh, guys, listen. Can I want to say a message to our little whiny bitch Trump up there? Whiny bitch Trump and his little bitch Vance. Yeah, I said it, and I mean it. I want to tell y'all something. I want y'all to listen to this. The PTO family and myself, we are presenting Brian Shapiro, Leonard, and Nunchuck the Nobel Peace Prize. Because let me tell you. Go ahead.
I'll take the money. It's 1.3 million. I'll take the money.
Yeah.
You guys could have you guys could have the trophy. I'll take the money, okay?
No, I want him to understand that you three and the whole station here, everybody, y'all have done more for this country than Vicky Trump ever has did in his life. And one more thing, guys, I was going to ask you, had you gotten to the Trump vodka that he's selling now? But the way y'all were acting earlier, I think you already did.
Yeah.
I think it's imported from another country.
Yeah. The Trump vodka he gives out to all members of his administration because they all go down easy on Donald Trump. That's what I.
You get a bottle of vodka and knee pads.
Yeah, get a set of knee pads. It goes down easy. Oh my goodness gracious! Thank you for the call, Darlene.
Thanks,
I appreciate
Darlene.
you. So as I mentioned, and I'll say this one more time, we're an independently owned radio show. What does that mean? Well, it means we rely on people like you. Obviously, we love the generosity of the people in the YouTube Super Chat. But if you guys could do us all a favor, besides subscribing to the YouTube page, we just passed 145,000 subscribers this week. Go to my website. The website's pushingthelimits.live. Again, that's pushingthelimits.live. You go to the website. You can buy merchandise, but you could also make donations. $5, $20 a month. You see the website right there at the bottom of the screen. Make a small donation, whatever you can afford. We greatly appreciate it. It helps independent media like us keep the lights on here, and we appreciate your donations in advance. Thank you so much. Leonard, I appreciate you being here as well.
Good callers today, Brian.
Yeah,
Good
very
calls.
good. Leonard will be joining us Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. You get 3 times more of Leonard. Tomorrow on the show, I'm excited. Pete Dominic is a friend of mine. I reached out to him because I loved what he did on CNN, on these CNN panels, and he's a very funny comedian, and he's going to be joining us on the show tomorrow.
Fun.
Yeah, talk a little bit about Jimmy Kimmel and some cancel culture and some other stuff. And then, boy, is she I love JoJo from Jers, man. You don't want to mess with her.
Well, I'm from Jersey also.
She is the best. I love JoJo. Not only is she a wonderful person, but
She's not afraid of anybody.
She is feisty. I really like JoJo.
She is fearless.
Yeah, she's great. And I've been on some Piers Morgan panels with her, by the way. She refuses to do Piers Morgan anymore. But JoJo from Jers is also going to be joining us on the show tomorrow. She's wonderful. And then, of course, Nicole Mitchell, the beautiful and talented Nicole Mitchell, will be joining us in hour number 2. So tomorrow's going to be a feisty show, too. We're going to have some laughs. We're going to get serious. We're going to have fun. We're going to range through all the emotions we normally range here on.
And more.
Limits. Yes, and more. Leonard, I will see you on Tuesday next week.
See you.
I hope
have
you have a
good
great weekend.
Brian.
Take care, guys.
Thanks
We'll
again.
see you tomorrow. Have a good day.
Ever dream of having your own radio show or a podcast, but just didn't think it was possible? Well, dreams can come true. Radio U. Radio U is a